Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Power to the Poets, Part 2. Today is a day of celebration. On this day in 1865, emancipation finally reached the most remote parts of the Confederacy, thereby freeing the very last slaves and marking the end of slavery in the United States. I wish to begin with a quote from Harriet Tubman. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. We have prepared a special program for you this evening. It's my great pleasure to introduce my co-host, Atlantic City-based poet, producer, publisher, radio show host, founder of the arts and media think tank, and my very dear friend, Raymond Tyler. Take it away, Ray.
Take it where? Hi, I'm Raymond Tyler. So with you here today on Juneteenth. I couldn't think of any more special people to spend my Juneteenth with and to celebrate our emancipation. And who knew a year ago, wherever we were celebrating Juneteenth, that we would have, and by we, I mean younger folks, not necessarily us, would have the police walking out on the job, but also serious talks about having qualified professionals back on the job. All of those social workers who have been fired and replaced by police will should be hearing their phone ring, within the next couple of weeks to come back. Because as I've been explaining to my friends, defunding the police is not about, to me anyway, is not about taking the police force out altogether. You know, somebody comes in my convenience store 2:30 in the morning with a gun. Yeah, I need Billy Badass. That's what I need, Billy Badass. But if I have a 6-year-old girl in first grade, hasn't had a good night's sleep, hasn't had a decent breakfast, I don't need Billy Badass who's had 4 cups of coffee, 2 donuts, a badge, and a gun to come and zip tie her, put her in the back of a paddy wagon. And if he don't have the common sense to know that that's bad on every sense of the word, then no, he don't deserve his job. And I don't, he needs to walk, and anybody who supports that, they need to walk, and their money needs to be given over to health and social programming. And that's that's the way I feel. I could have predicted that we would have George Floyd, and unfortunately a Breonna Taylor, and unfortunately a Rashard Brooks, but I couldn't have imagined the wave of change that we are in the middle of, and just proud that that I'm here to be a part of it. And what that has to do with Power to the Poets, hopefully something. I don't know, but I do know that I'm here tonight to hear some good poetry and maybe share a poem, promising that it'll be good. That's what you guys are here for. So how's that for an introduction? Probably not what you expected, but if you wanted what you expected, you wouldn't have asked me to host.
Okay. Ray, do you want to introduce Howard, or should I?
Oh, okay. I thought I was going to have the back half like last time. You should, because I have to. Okay, so now you guys are getting to see how the sausage is made. I have all these introductions that I have to go through, so I didn't have my introductions up. So you go ahead and introduce Howard, and I'll get up the introduction so I can take over from there.
Tonight, we are very, very fortunate to have with us Howard Wiley, a protege of the dynamic Miss Faye Carroll and Bay Area great Jules Broussard, and is associated with the Thelonious Monk Institute and Grammy All-American Jazz Band. After visiting the notorious Angola prison in Louisiana in 2005, the Angola Project was born. This is a reinterpretation of prison spirituals, tradition, traditional spiritual music, New Orleans style blues, gospel music, and jazz. Howard has released a trio of masterful solo recordings, performed SF Jazz Hot Plate tributes, and featured in the De Young Museum's Soul of a Nation Art in the Age of Black Power, 1963 to 1983. Please welcome Howard Wiley.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate this. Glad we're all staying positive, making sure we are amongst people to help do that, and that's cool, and I appreciate that. I would normally play like a spiritual, something that Big Mama would really enjoy, but this time brings me to, it's a song that I heard John Coltrane play, and our treatment here, it seems to be just another part of an ongoing chapter of the same kind of thing. Technology allows us to capture it. So I'm gonna do this thing I heard John Coltrane do. It's called What's New.
Is that it? So that's it? Just the one song?
Oh, I didn't know I had more time. Okay, yes.
Oh,
Okay.
well,
I thought I had to keep it moving. The sheet I got was like keep
we don't
it
want you to do the whole
moving.
Apollo
Okay,
run,
you know we all here. It's Friday. Keep it moving. Okay. Oh man. Okay. Tight. I got another one.
Eileen?
Of course.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Well,
Please
we
start.
did bring up Big Mama. Hmm?
Yes, please.
Okay, tight. I did bring up Big Mama and Granny. All the stuff they've been through, they always found a way to smile through it and have optimism for the future. So, I'm from the Bay Area, and I grew up in this church in North Oakland. And this is one composer outside James Cleveland whose stuff you just had to know in Oakland. So I'm gonna play one of my Hawkins favorites. Thank you, thank you. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate this.
And that, my people, is how you celebrate Juneteenth, with some music and some jazz, and that's beautiful. So give it up one more time for Howard. Thank you so much for sharing your gift with us this evening. Next up is Devorah Major, who is San Francisco's third Poet Laureate. She's an award-winning poet, fiction writer, creative nonfiction writer, performer, editor, and part-time senior adjunct professor at California College of the Arts. And I heard she used to understudy for Angela Bassett, too. Just made that up. She is also poet in residence of the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco, and their part is true. I also made up the part that she wrote the intros for the trolley tours, but I'm sure I'm sure she could probably do that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Devorah. Did I pronounce that right, or is it Devorah?
It's Devorah.
See, I messed up. See, I haven't done all that intro.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem. I don't trip. Although I like that idea of the intros for the trolley cars.
No poetry on the trolleys?
Yeah, I like that. I'm no longer the Fine Arts Museum. That must be an old bio. The Fine Arts Museums stopped the Poets in the Gallery program. So I'm still work at various projects for them. But anyway, let me do these 4 poems, 2 from Forever, 2 from More Now. And let me say this, I love Howard Wiley's music. The first time I saw him, my son was 11, and I think he was maybe 14 or 15. And they were in a Lynx talent competition. And Howard Wiley, of course, took gold in his division. And I've been paying attention ever since. Just a wonderful musician. Okay, Creation Paradox. Oh, my son took the silver in his. He was in the little kid one. Creation Paradox. We hold the great grandparents of our ancestors' grandparents in our bloodstreams, in our stomachs, in our hearts. Thousands of years rest inside our souls. In those years lies the record of our beginning. It is the sweetest marrow in our spine, the clearest shine in our eyes, the open side of our laughter. You can read it in the lines on the soles of our feet. When we retell the stories of where we came back, we draw back tree branches to find hidden fruits which we savor, pointed thorns which make us bleed, the yesterdays that led to here, the here that leads to tomorrow. When we go back to the beginning, we find the stars. In the beginning, there was a time, we all say, when we were not. After that time, we became. We were created, we were molded, we were spat out, we were sung into, until we learned how to make, what to form, where to spit, why to sing. But once, long ago in the beginning, there was only one. And from that one others were born, and out of those many came us. That is the story we all tell. But before that beginning, before the in the beginning when we were born, there must have been another beginning. Before the spider crafting web laying 16 eggs, before the mountain birthing lovers, birthing children, before the sky settling low to mate with earth, before lightness, before darkness, before breath even. there must have been another beginning, a beginning that lives in a place we call unknowable, and yet it is braided into our genealogies. And it is said, it is in this beginning, the beginning before our beginning. It is there that you must go if you want to find the faces of God. Thousands of years, thousands and thousands of years rest inside our souls. This next one, called Resisting Genocide, well, obviously it's for the now, somewhat reworked because sadly I had written much of it before. Everyone is writing poems about George Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor or Sandra Bland, Emmett Till or Amadou Diallo, Trayvon Martin or Oscar Grant, Ramarley Graham or Michael Brown, and so many others. But I have been writing poems about Black people murdered in the endlessly declared and undeclared wars of our times. Dying while loved, dying while alone, dying while afraid, dying while besieged by enemy, dying while besieged by kin. I have been writing poems about Black people dying for about as long as I have been writing poems. And as I sit here searching for the right words to pen, my mouth is slack, tears held back at the litany of words I have already scribed rolls out beneath me. And the only thing that seems to have changed are that more are dying. More Black men, more Black women, more Black children. Ever younger and more innocent, full of possibilities that too few seem able to see. And more are killing each other for reasons even they cannot fully explain. Unreasoned rage, confusion, frustration, and desire. But the center of each of these poems is the same: the killing of and death of Black people. I already have stacks of poems with sharp tipped blades cutting my heart. Black people are killed without mercy or remorse, without fear of penalty. One Black person every 28 hours falls from a police officer, security officer, vigilante, while another 8,000 die each year from killing each other. Each of these murders, killing our line, ending our future. So I write this poem for the living, who we need to offer more than cautionary advice. Say yes, sir, on demand. Keep your hands up and open. Stay aware and remember, you are a hunted target, always under siege, prejudged as criminal, wrong on account of color, wrong on account of neighborhood, wrong on account of clothes, wrong on account of music, wrong on account of birth. We need to make a new way for all of them to stride with their smiles lighting up dark corners as their neighbors watch out for the treasure of their inner beauty and the caprice of their outer style and the endless potential of their precious lives. And continuing, you know how you might be, I listen to various streaming things, and the right song might come up. And so this is from Bob Marley's song, inspired the title of this: Woe to the down pressers, they'll eat the bread of sorrow. To the down pressers. You walked on our bones for centuries until they turned to sand that you poured into sandboxes so that your children could build sand castles. And when the sand became translucent, filled with the sun's colors, its brightness burning your eyes, you found more to sacrifice, letting vultures strip away our skin, and then built ladders formed from our ribs, limbs, and skulls that you climbed with shielded eyes to get a better view of the lands you planned to conquer. And now at services for each new martyr, gospel songs bleed with tears out the sanctuary doors, and you hear not just their bitter sweetness, but a warning. We are rising up. We are joined by some of your children and your grandchildren who have eaten of shame and drank of truth and refused to travel on the rails you laid with our bones. our parents' bones, our children's bones. Yes, you have fed on our flesh, lauded the delicacy of our open hearts, savored the tartness of our keen eyes. But the universe we all live in calls for constant change. Earthquakes birth new mountains, thunderstorms reshape those mountains, and now we rise. Out of coffins where you thought us buried, out of prisons where you thought us caged, out of colleges where you thought us sedated, out of careers where you thought us bound, out of tenements where you thought us trapped, we rise. Even those of us who struggle to decipher your scrawled script can read the word winds and know the stars and bring fury and righteousness to your table. And each of you who block our path, who would press us back, will be blinded by our brilliance. And if your hearts do not grow, your bones will become refuse that we remove from our way and bury beneath bramble bushes, which you will fertilize for millennia. I guess I was kind of angry, or am. And this last one, which is also in my book that's coming out in, next month. It's almost here. Califia's Children is for all of us, because if we remember who we are, perhaps we can all do better. Stardust. Out of clay they caution, dust to dust they intone. From earth you came, and to earth you will return, they admonish. They remind us we are human and subject to death, yet insist on their eternals. Demons and angel, paradise or purgatory, merely human with a finite number of days. But we have exploded as novas, burned through galaxies, explored far reaches of the Milky Way, ridden on the tail of comets, danced on the edge of asteroids, until in a dizzying frenzy of passion we fell through the viscous ozone, past cooling clouds, to settle in the ooze that feeds the ocean's floor. It was there that we decided to grow limbs and tongues, all the while holding inside the truth of our origin. We, magnesium, calcium, iron, we are the stuff that stars are made of. It's a scientific fact, a cosmic truth. In ignorance and in knowing, we hold grains of the divine inside ourselves, and we always have. We are stardust. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing such amazing work. I really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up one more time for Devorah. Right, let's keep it moving. And next up, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Paul Shine-Wen is an educator and the first Poet Laureate of El Cerrito. Her books include Ruins of a Glittering Palace, Score and Bone, and Invisible Gifts poems. Her newest book, Storage Unit for the Spirit House, will be published by Omnidawn in fall of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, please give it up for Paul.
Welcome, Ma. It's
It's
hi, Ma. It's Ma.
okay. I'm okay. I apologize, Ma.
No worries, no worries. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Devorah, for that amazing reading and the incredible music, Howard. So I'm honored to be here tonight, and in honor of Juneteenth, I'd like to read poems by 3 writers whose work I admire. And the first poem is by June Jordan. A short note to my very critical and well-beloved friends and comrades. First they said I was too light. Then they said I was too dark. Then they said I was too different. Then they said I was too much the same. Then they said I was too young. Then they said I was too old. Then they said I was too interracial. Then they said I was too much a nationalist. Then they said I was too silly. Then they said I was too angry. Then they said I was too idealistic. Then they said I was too confusing altogether. Make up your mind, they said. Are you militant or sweet? Are you vegetarian or meat? Are you straight or are you gay? And I said, hey, it's not about my mind. And this next poem is by Wanda Coleman. And when I was a young poet in Los Angeles, Wanda and I were in a group reading together, and backstage I told her I was very nervous, and she gave me a pep talk and I pulled it together. Thank you, Wanda. And this is called Dear Mama 4. When did we become friends? It happened so gradual, I didn't notice. Maybe I had to get my run out first, take a big bite of the honky world and choke on it. Maybe that's what has to happen with some uppity youngsters, if it happens at all. And now the thought, stark and irrevocable, of being here without you shakes me beyond love, fear, regret, or anger. Into that realm children go who want to care for, protect their parents as if they could. And sometimes the lucky ones do. Into the realm of making every moment important, laughing as though laughter wards off death. Each word given, received like Spanish 8 treasure to bury within. Against that shadow day, when it will be the only coin I possess, with which to buy peace of mind. Thank you. And this poem is by Lucille Clifton, with whom I had the good fortune to take a workshop with many years ago. And the title of this poem is A Dream of Foxes. In the dream of foxes, there is a field and a procession of women, clean as good children, no hollow in the world, surrounded by dogs, no fur clumped bloody on the ground, only a lovely line of honest women stepping without fear or guilt or shame, safe through the generous fields. And I'd like to finish with a couple poems from Storage Unit for the Spirit House. Halls, children not sleeping, cement floors, mylar sheets, small bodies turn, held sorrows, collected, held in cells, how do they hold? The halls get cold. The children are not sleeping. And this is called Spirit House 6. The knots had moved into the house on Inyal Lake, zoomed through halls with pocket knives, tamarind seeds, green bananas. Family offerings of jade bracelets, cheroot cigars, deer tails. The medium danced wildly in the living room, drunk on palm wine, spinning, spinning. Orchestra of circle drums and copper bells played on the staircase, not pue. 8 children on the floorboards, leaping over uncles and cousins, shaking, shaking. Mother lit candles on the wall shrine. She spoke to the blue-winged insects. They whispered back. A knot warmed itself by the flame. Auntie walked in a dream state, hot room. Cousin slowly opened a large trunk of teak and silver strips. The gnats flew inside, one after the other, after the other. Thank you.
Let's hear it one more time from Maul. Such a great collection of poems from classical poets and from Maul, who is clearly writing new classics. So you say your newest book will be out in the fall?
Yes, in October.
Okay, well, we'll definitely be looking for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, so probably what Eileen wanted me to announce at the beginning, I just realized that, is that I'll be publishing a digital anthology called The Arts and Music Think Tank. The second, hopefully it'll be ready to post the second week of July. And so if anybody would like to submit to that, for that, I'll post my contact information. Also, every Sunday at 8 p.m., I host a reading for poets and artists who want to come and share something positive, you know, pointing people toward freedom, and it's called Our Voice. So again, if you'd like to sign up for that, I have a couple openings left for that on Sunday. And now to keep everything else moving, we have Vernon Kiev the Third. Vernon is a Virginian-born writer that California molded into an educator. He lives and teaches in Oakland, California. His purpose is to teach the next generation the importance of relaying their personal narratives, sharing their experiences, and taking control of their destinies. Southern Migrant Mixtape is his first book. And please forgive me, Vernon, but whenever I see somebody with two names followed by the third, I am compelled to pull out this corny accent. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Vernon.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I'll just read some stuff. So I do like, I really like kind of like Harlem Renaissance history. I found out that kind of like the Vogue scene would not exist as we have it today if it weren't for Madam C.J. Walker. Because Alelia Walker, after she inherited all of her mother's money, used to have these, created a lot of safe parties for queer people during the Harlem Renaissance. And that is how the voguing scene actually started. So this first poem is about the history of the voguing scene, and it's called To the Men Who Danced in the Darkest of Rooms. To the men who danced in the darkest of rooms, illuminated by the glitter glow souls of one another, kissing their lovers away from the eyes of those who loved them until their wrists never grew the muscle to support the worlds that they wanted to blossom within. The parents of the Harlem Renaissance, with their plumed headdresses. Those who knew that male peacocks were the ones who spread their wings of gold, emerald, amethyst, and lapis lazuli. Those who told me that my exposed skin gleaming with sweat in the night is made from the same obsidian that spewed from the volcanoes that gassed the whole planet and gave it atmosphere. Those who knew fear was something that needed to be managed since their fathers tried to beat the blues from their indigo. Since mothers tried to stop trying to tie them to girls as pretty as their sons already knew they were themselves. The wallflowers at school dances who were jealous of the queens they admired who got to dance with Jameer, Derod, and Michael. The sisters who held their secrets, the brothers who saw their own in them, those of you who birthed the sunrise with festival, marched through empty mornings to shared flats in the Lower East Side where they replaced families that displaced them from dinner tables. Those who migrated to cities where nights didn't hide the men who wanted to merely kill them for the color of their skin. This day is for you. Even though those of us who marched freely outside doing pride for ourselves, ignoring those days when kisses were craved like hugs that they did not receive before they walked over 800 miles for, got onto colored train cars for, or caught buses to New York for, freedoms that just weren't tied to their skin. We don't deserve you. Those who felt the need to whiten their faces to win at Rockland Palace. Those who felt white affection validated their extravagance, the wondrous dandies of Alelia Walker parties during the Prohibition who cops thought were cultural experiments. If the cops have their way, the effeminate Klan will hereafter confine its activities to the village of Harlem. The magnificent marches of Marcel Christian, who staged the first Black Ball in 1962. The luminescent children of Crystal LaBeija, who spoke out against anti-Black spaces and who showed Andy Warhol that artists are activists, even though he didn't listen. The house of Corey, the house of Dior, the house of Christian, who welcomed birds pushed from their nests because their closets had no doors. The backroom choreographers of Stonewall who taught the movement how to move, who defined pride as something one throws bricks for. Those who set fire to Paris and ate cake with Dupree. Those who threw shade so dark it haunts our language today and tied Vogue to ships that carried African artists in chains and chiseled hieroglyphs from Egypt and Kush in their stance and with their hands. Those who raised monies for AIDS, those whose dresses faded from ruby to pink before Blanche Devorah told the masses that this is a disease that affects us all. Those who were murdered and still are murdered for being seeds without intention. Invasive wildflowers not meant for the confinement of gardens. Those who wore high-waisted jeans better than their homegirls, who sprouted breasts from hormones that caused their mothers to burn their clothes, caused their mothers to abandon them in the 50s when postpartum depression wasn't recognized. Those born in barns with chickens and treated like fowl by white mothers who hated them for being the brown egg out of the white dozen that she had laid. Those who wore dresses like their adorned aunties who once spoiled them, who once called them their favorites, who they wished to write and call every once in a while, but mama would find out, so papa would find out. Those who made their own fashions that silence rooms made us remember that the dance floor is a runway too. Those who created styles that were colonized just like everything else that they coined. Those who never made a dime for withstanding time. This day is for you, even though we don't deserve it. I'll read some new stuff I've been working on. I've been working on these poems. One day I was just I think about, even though these things happen where, and we have a whole history of these deaths happening to Black boys, Black men, Black women. I think about, I constantly think about their mothers, because I have a worrying mother. When I tell, my mother calls me, I've been living in California for almost 9 years, and my mother calls me every night at 6:30, which is 9:30 her time. I'm the last person she calls before she goes to bed every night. And even when I'm in my mother's house, for holidays and stuff, every time that the door opens, she's like, "Where are you going? You know, who you going with?" And I'm like, "Mom, about to be 34 years old." So I think about Mamie Till a lot. And I've been working on these poems, and I just call them poems for Mamie Till. Mamie said Emmett was more like a brother. My mother looked after him while I worked, she said. This common narrative of how capitalism disrupts Black nuclear families, lower class families, makes Black parents appear neglectful when they cannot show up to school meetings, makes single parent households seem loveless. Media has always been spreading fake news about Black homes, privacies we were never given, as if our hovels are forever on the outskirts of the big house. He was a breech baby, Mamie said. Feet first out of the womb, as if he wanted to stand for something from the moment he was born. Living to wake up a movement with a nightmare so true you wished it were a lie. When Mamie moved out on her own out of her mother's home, she recalled how Emmett didn't abide by her, like he did his grandmother. And she didn't get much time to be the mother she wanted, to grow out of being his big sister. Emmett gave Mamie his watch before he got on the train which took him south to Mississippi. It was the last thing he ever gave her. "I don't need it where I'm going," he said. I repeat, he gave her his watch and said, "I don't need it where I'm going." Here's a second poem from that. There was already blood smeared above the door. Snapped branches, sap dripping down onto the sunken wooden planks, and still death knocked on the door in the dead of night, the door to Moses Wright's home, demanded more, while still drunk with the afterbirth of this nation on its breath. We just want to whip him and turn him loose, Roy Bryan and J.W. Millam said, in the living room of Moses Wright in the dead of night. And those two Black adults, aunt and uncle, knew that they could not protect their nephew Bobo from two white men with a gun in Money, Mississippi. They knew that they had to sacrifice the branch in order to save the bough. And this is the last poem of this. His mother said they took her son, Emmett's teeth, like the teeth in Washington's mouth from his slaves. Are they in the river, the Tallahatchie? Whose mantle might they adorn, she said. My baby had pretty teeth. So who died with them rattling in their skull? Lynching is a word, but what they did to Mamie's son was to show him what the devil is capable of. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Wow, have mercy. And your last name is pronounced Keith or Kiev? I can't.
My last name is Keeve, Vernon Keeve. I'm
Keeve.
Vernon Keeve the third, yes.
Vernon Keeve, you are an amazing talent. To be 30, you have 4 or 5 griots within you. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that. Anytime you can say, you can put, they set Paris on fire. Man, Paris is burning, Elijah, was that 78, 79 maybe? 78, 79, right in there.
Yes. God, I feel old because I know Paris. And on that note, I'm going to mute myself again.
Yeah, but yeah, that was, you know, that was definitely a dope set. And the poems for Mamie Till, wow. So I just got to give it up. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, give it up for Oakland's, by way of Virginia's, Vernon Keeve. All right, we're going to keep it moving. Next up, Kim Shuck is the 7th Poet Laureate of San Francisco. A lot of poets on that trolley car. And I have to find out something else that San Francisco has besides the trolley cars, right? Because I'm about to wear that out. She belongs to the Northern California Cherokee diaspora and is taught American Indian Studies. How about this? How about I say Native American Studies at San Francisco State University. In 2019, Kim was awarded an inaugural National Laureate Fellowship from the Academy of American Poets, a PEN Oakland Censorship Award, and a Golden Poppy Award in Poetry. Please give it up for Kim.
Vernon Keeve, I will have revenge for having to read after that. No, I will. I don't know if you know, my daughter passed 8 years ago, and if I lose it during this set, it's your fault, Vernon Keeve. I love you. Which I only said to get my nerves back. If you ignore centuries of pain until you are finally driven to the doctor, finally diagnosed with a terminal illness, do you blame yourselves? Foundations are ossuaries. The bones are old, the bones are food, the bones will fail. The bones are creation myths carved with glyphs of concealment. Even so, they are scattered by scavengers, cracked, dry marrow extracted, and this house is tilting. So that's one of a series I've been doing of poems every day since we've been sheltering in place. This one's from my next book, which is called Exile's Heart, and will be out probably in October of this year, so that's a popular moment for books to be out. It's called Thieves. We, who steal ourselves back from the songs and laws and habits that claim us and everything about us. The long men, the wide-hipped and generous bays, protective as any mother. We who can still hear Lovejoy's press, can hear it from under the water, the supervisory singing wolves. We who sing to other songs, we steal ourselves back, the kidnapped and hostaged, the unransomed and unransomable. We learn songs to pick locks, to absorb your laws and habits. We are coming for ourselves. We are on the way. Yeah, I'm reading a different one from the one I thought I was going to read. This is not about that. It's called Highway. Route 66 was the river we all lived with, knowing its habits and fauna, the sacred diners and cafes on its shores, the seasonal overflow. There is a mythology there that blurs between cultures. No Fred Harvey, but it replaced the railroad, next food, second floor, the big teepee, and sometimes a hawk not quite dead on the blacktop. The one that marked me with a clenching foot, a reflex between French toast, scrambled eggs, and cubed ham, the tangy overcooked coffee when I still smoked cigarettes, and Grandpa had a bronze American Leviathan. The whorehound drops, jerky moccasins, gas, and the incandescent constellations of towns at night, telling their very own stories, unknown to us. So many ghosts along this river that we share these pinpricks of similarity, these hauntings, this long man, such crime, such home place. Okay. This I wrote after my daughter died, because poems live dangerous lives. I can't write the vanished poem, the murdered poem. She slips from under my pen, off of the pages in my notebook, and every planned word needs new plans. Last seen alive, the murdered poem, the vanished poem, was somewhere she shouldn't have been, like walking or breathing or trying to see herself somewhere else. The vanished poem caught on CCTV in Vancouver, Atlanta, Albuquerque, leaving work, heading home. The murdered poem never got there. Because poems' lives are dangerous. Because every poem is a potential headline along Highway 16. These poems run to Prince George, to somewhere else. And if a poem steps off a cliff while avoiding the police, and if it can't fly, then the police can't find that poem. It takes family, it takes community, and I still can't write her. Thank you very much for including me in this.
I disagree, Kim. I think that Eileen, in her infinite wisdom, put you right on the program or the roster where you needed to be. I think your poems were a brilliant follow-up to the spirit, the texture, and the tapestry that Vernon brought. And thank you for sharing such great poetry with us. I'll say this, and I'm not talking about any of the poets here, but being a Black poet, so many times I go to readings and Black poets miss the fact that poetry can be small, intimate stories that we all can relate to, and they have a lot of power. And you know, the poems that you brought in, especially that last one, poems live dangerous lives. I would have totally, I admit it, I consider myself a seasoned poet. I totally would have messed that up by trying to go big, because it sounds like a big poem. And for you to make it so small and so intimate that, you know, I would want to pull that out whenever I want a little sip of heartbreak. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I get it. I get it. And I thank you for sharing that. And I can imagine one of my biggest problems as a poet is I'm scared to be naked. And so, yes, I can appreciate what it takes to put that on a page and to bring that here. amongst friends even. All right. Fortunately, unfortunately, this will be the last poet I will be announcing this evening, I do believe. So I will be back with some closing remarks. In the meantime, let me say this. I am now going to introduce Angelique N. Zobitz. Zobitz sounds like a word that Bill Cosby made up for. I Zobitz you. I Zobitz you. Angelique N. Zobitz is a poet raised on the Southside of Chicago and is obviously too young to remember Cabrini Green.
No.
No, okay. All right.
I had family there, yes.
Wow, okay. Now the whole intro for Cooley Eye is running through my mind now. Not getting hustle, not getting hustle. Okay. Angelique N. Zobitz is a poet raised on the south side of Chicago and is a recent transplant to the intersection of agriculture and academia in Indiana. She is the author of the Chapbook, Love Letters to the Revolution, forthcoming fall 2020 from American Poetry Journal. She is a spring 2019 Black River Chapbook Competition finalist and 2020 Best New Poets nominee, and a two-time 2019 Best of Net nominee. Please give it up for Angelique Zobitz.
All right. So thank you, Vernon and Eileen, for having me and including me in such an incredible lineup of poets. There's, I can't imagine another opportunity that I would have to fellowship in such a way and hear such beautiful and varied work. This is especially, just kind of heartwarming to me because it is Juneteenth. At this time, 2 years ago, I was thinking about, the progress that has been made in this country and still the path, how far we still have to go. And talking to my elders, I'm not that young, but I am, I do have elders, and saying, the way that we go 2 steps forward, we go 1 step back. And, sometimes we surge 3 steps forward, really resonated with me. And I hope to see more of those pushes and progress in my lifetime. And so back in 2018, I was thinking about Juneteenth specifically because a lot of the border policies were coming out and we were learning about the atrocities that were taking place, for individuals who were crossing from Mexico or from the Latin America into the United States. And so, I've had this belief in my mind that no one is free while anyone is oppressed. And so I wrote this first poem then on Juneteenth. So I'll start. Inside me is a river run ragged, a gulch dying out, 100-degree high noon, tongue tumid, overfilling the mouth until it suffocates my bony teeth and congested larynx. I yearn for heavy water days, for waterways turgid with promise and escape, for what could pull me under or float my body away. I get lost in the crossing, water stinging my rock-scraped palms like nettles, like the crown of thorns, like barbed wire lashings across my back, the way I can't outrun guns, the will to live, an urgency for new beginnings on either side of the gully. I must be a glutton for punishment, asking this country to love me the way that I deserve. The city that failed me is hard to escape, reaches for my daughters and sons, asks me how much I am willing to give to live. What will you commit to me? I answer, everything. It says, I want your children insatiable, indefatigable, incorrigible. I have to remind the city that it has already taken all the blood in my body and left me this. Leave me this. I beg and plead it find animal bones to chew and spit out. I tried to find a stopping post, a shelter, a port in the storm. My demons come for me, drag me kicking and screaming, wringing my trauma into distress. I can't breathe. Underneath the chest collapse, the lung collapse, the bow break by air or by land or by sea, the famine, the war, violence eating my face. I lack the cardiovascular regime to outrun the nervous state breaking down the door, catching my hell's worst imaginings, clinging by my foot, singing my requiem. They said we could be free. Midnight, catch, hold, flee. I was obviously really thinking about the intersections of justice. 2018 was, I think, a particularly turbulent year in the middle of a series of turbulent years since 2016. And I wrote that poem before Charlottesville. And this next poem called Because, which was published in Poets Reading the News in 2018, was written after Charlottesville. I bought a gun, a new state, the dirt from other landscapes, still on my toes, the land of Lincoln and his vision, but a distant echo. I started thinking about the shape of a post-apocalypse. My body is a threat to the state. My womb, supposed the site of white genocide. My marriage labeled miscegenation. My daughter, an abomination. The deposed master's tools will never dismantle the master's house, but no more metaphors. Monkey see, monkey do. I pulled rations up to the attic, started stockpiling and locking the doors. How much water will I need? What? Catalogs of roots and seeds. What happens during the race war? It's Sunday morning, and polling suggests 81% of evangelicals won't acknowledge a God with Black, brown, or non-gender conforming skin, or indigenous ancestry, or an accent, or who prays while facing Mecca, or who partakes in Seder. Fellow Christians have made me agnostic on the best of days. As intolerant as the interstate, worn and hard is slate, a map of cracks, construction already committed to one state. They who haven't been taught to fear pack squalid thoughts and tiki torches into the crowded camper van with fetid air and cold beer. They recite their chants, they stroke their arms, load their resentments, fold their robes, coach the kids, soothe their egos with once a long time ago. Misdirected misers who glorify the hard lives of coal miners' daughters, and how Mammy knew her place, and how them bucks remembered to avert their eyes. They think Jim Crow, a dream to again be realized, are free with their guns. In my youth, we traveled from Chicago to Shreveport the whole night through. Too scared to rest or stop. The norm to urinate in Folgers' tin coffee cans on the side of the well-worn road. a handful of napkins clutched in my small fist to clean down my leg, the unchecked trickle of piss, rather than be at the wrong place at the wrong time, land where my fathers died. I bought a gun. The canary in the coal mine's name is Black, singing the blues. You in danger, girl. Armed and angry white mobs bearing torches go goose-stepping down the city center, flak jackets, steel-toed boots, dead-eyed, and all I have is my crumbling faith in America, in my home, and the humanity of the silent neighbors surrounding me. August 15th, Sunday morning. I listened to the radio and drank my coffee. I looked in my daughter's chocolate eyes. On the radio, every true American needs 4 guns. 1, a shotgun for home protection. 2, a handgun for personal protection. 3, a hunting rifle for provisions. 4, a semi-automatic rifle for defending our Second Amendment rights. Tired of bringing hope to a gunfight, they missed the 5th. I too sing America. This is my heritage, not hate. This last poem, I started to think about, what our parents and our grandparents sacrificed in order for us to be here, and what that means that I need to give to ensure that my daughter and her generation can partake of the gifts of this country. And so this poem, which was originally published this spring in Anomaly, is called Full Throated. You must be thinking of my grandma's people. Must have me confused with someone else. I see the resemblance, but I'm not the one. Won't be compelled to cradle every word on my tongue behind the caging of my teeth, only birthing black-ass bon mot babies for your pleasure. Bite my tongue. I've heard, hold your peace, and request that I stay calm and maintain the illusion of peace. Recall, we're all happy if we're quiet. Bitch, please. My people trapped sharp words in the esophagus, dulled them down on the concrete slabs of solitary confinement, sacrificed in silence while carving in the throat. I was here. Bold, subversive graffiti scrawled in the night. The fumes of their words are why my throat is dry from how often I refuse to choke, gag, reflex, fix my mouth. If you only knew what I want to say when you utter temper your temper, as if a soft word makes palatable misery, as if tongue separates the bitter from sweet, as if it is my party trick to swallow back the bitter pit, as if tying my anger into knots like a cherry stem. Whew. Ma'am, bless. I am not my grandma's child. That generation put up with what they had to. I never learned how to sweet and swallow bad produce, to fix my lips for long, never rouge them red in replacement of bloodlust. I too want words, soft on skin, soft on psyche, lapping softly in my inner ear, revolutionary love words like you matter. Until then, I let sing every word. Thank you.
I was sitting at the edge of my seat. Thank you so much, Angelique. That was so powerful. Thank you. Our next guests, Melinda Luisa De Jesus and Elijah Kendall III, will be performing a duet. Melinda is Associate Professor of Diversity Studies at California College of the Arts. She is the author of numerous books of poetry and feminist critical theory, and also a mezzo-soprano. Elijah is a Philadelphia poet, lyric baritone, composer, actor, and archivist. He is the author of the Cornerstone, Feeding the Sparrow, and Second Saturday at Serenity, and has appeared on radio, TV, and stage. He has been quoted in print in Newsweek, the New York Times, and the Philadelphia Daily News. He credits his true education to 5 generations of teachers. Please welcome Melinda Louisa De Jesus and Elijah Pringle III.
Hi.
Hello, guys. Melinda and I have a unique duet that we'll be doing, which will be tagging each other. So Melinda will be sharing first, and then I'll be sharing a piece about a quarter, I sense. And I will also be doing a tribute to the word bosom buddy. And the etymology of bosom buddy actually goes back to slavery, and we'll talk about that. And then Melinda is going to be singing a song that was written by a friend of mine. Her name is Lisa Amos. And it is a song that she actually was woken one night right, and it's entitled When Will It End? So without any further ado, Melinda.
Thank you. I would like to start by reading this poem called Juneteenth Poem. Your harvest of strange fruit, America. How many black bodies is enough? When will your lust be sated? When is your fear ever abated? When can black folks live free? Ashe, George Floyd, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Breonna Taylor, Louisville, Kentucky. Robert L. Fuller, Palmdale, California. Malcolm Harsh, Victorville, California. Ashe.
DC Quarter. It's worth so much more. Duke Ellington is on the corner, and my lover searches. It does not buy candy or coffee, nor could it. It costs over $1. Very little it can purchase, except the joy is to find it. Yes, the world costs so much more, but this pressed likeness leaves imprint got a quarter, 25 cents. A coin splashed into the fountain pays for an item long overdue. It is Morrison's child, all that's blinded by sunlight. Her delivery 2 days before the mist frees her from the sun. Elevated to a house, chained to the sucker of the masses. One with a scepter, the other with a dividing staff. Mama's little white angel, Mouse's new little dog. Nourishing, reaching blindly. Her firm everyday roundness, unaware of precoordination, as they rest without hesitation. Her total roundness, her wholeness, suspending all of her children. Because she desires not to be a mommy, but a mammy. A captured mammal protected by her gland. A heifer whose only prize is to be set out to pasture one day. Happy at her gestation just 2 days before the mission, because now she's stationed under the blazing, rocky, hungry, feeding, sear, and separated by her nursing half brothers, drawing you close, nearer to the day of we felt severing, that means. Thank you. We'll take it over from here, guys. I'm sorry if there was any echoing. I just set up the system, so I hope it didn't get too bad. Okay, was I going in and out? Could you all hear me
A little
throughout?
bit, yeah, yeah. Are we ready, Elijah?
We're ready. You start.
Okay. Bodies are falling, leaders denying, police keep on lying. No country for black men. When will it end? When will it end? When will it end? When will it end? Weeping and wailing, wondering why sons have to die. No country for black men. When will it end? When will it end? When will it end? When will it end? Trauma and terror, fear for our lives, we keep on dying. No country for black men. When will it end? When will it end? When will it end? When will it end? Our lives truly matter, with black fists arising. We gather in protest. No country for black men. When will it end? 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 When will it end?
I just want to thank Lisa Amos for allowing us to perform that song.
Thank you.
Apologize if I had any audio problems, but I just wanted to share this, and I want to thank Eileen, I want to thank Ray, I want to thank all the poets that read before me. You were amazing. Angelique, I'm sorry, I'm now your uncle, so just deal with it. Just deal with it. And poor Vernon has no choice. I am the uncle that takes over everything. But I want to thank you all, and I want to thank Eileen once again and Raymond for this.
Thank you guys. Such an honor to be here. And thank you, Elijah, for sharing this awesome song with me. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Melinda and Elijah. That was just beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Our next guest is a spoken word artist and motivational speaker who has featured at the world stage in LA, the Comedy Store, the Knitting Factory, UCLA, and more. He is the host and founder of the long-running monthly open mic series, First Thursdays at the Anza College. Please welcome McTate Stroman II. Well, I will ask Ray to read a few poems if he doesn't mind while we wait for McTate.
Okay. Let's see what I have right here handy. It's one of those rare days where I don't feel like reading something that's all super duper heavy. So I'll start off with this. This is an old poem. It's called Hopes. Yeah, so one, hopes are little things, smaller than stars we learn to wish on, smaller than babies, smaller than Daisy Dukes you see. They weigh less than afros and are lighter than El DeBarge. It can be shorter than Chico DeBarge's singing career. But when hopes become realization, it can make you happier than a hungry man with a greasy spoon at Sylvia's Soul Food in Harlem. 2, hopes are little things, but can use up more energy. Before they begin to be real, hopes realized are blessings, no less. So only hope for good things. I know it sounds corny, but positive energy returns positive energy, and negative energy returns negative energy, and you could be Donald Trump in 4 easy lessons. 3, I hope you see enough in me to know you have made a difference. Maybe the world's axis didn't change, but you helped me keep my axis steady. A man being force-fed Marsha, and identical twins. It's good to see you, the blackest, have the potential to make something vibrant and living in me. The most blackest I've been since Thelma was going to marry eBay. To know you could be black and in touch and have a doctorate without an honorary in front of it. To know keeping it real doesn't mean you have to talk in dialogue, and keep it professional doesn't mean you have to conform your soul to fit European sense or sensibilities. And I hope one day to thank you for just bringing a few of us along for the ride with you, who walk it, who talk it, who see you. So that's that. Is he here yet?
I am.
Okay, cool. Cause
I am. Sorry.
I tend to get on a roll.
Got you. I am. It's been a day. Life happens. I'm outside. I've been spending the whole day inside. I work from home. And yeah, so I thank you guys all. And please just wave your hands real quick. I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me well. Awesome. There we have it. So with it being Juneteenth, celebrating our ancestors, I would like to start with our first form of communication, the drums. You see, I was born to be deep, but converse quite simple. I stay alive and I strive as long as fluids in the temple, to create and meditate in the hills where the wind speaks, through the valleys and peaks. Oh Lord, thank you for allowing me to dig deep. into the earth for the birth of new wisdom, to project intellect and manifest charisma, to flow and make sound pound like a new pair of bongos, to commit with the mind in due time, the rest shall follow. Because you see, it's poetry I choose, once influenced by Langston Hughes. Short stories by Leroy Jones, Amari Baraka. You see, it all depends on one's mood. I said it all depends on one's mood. You see, that's why I write, to relieve my stress. I don't profess to be the best, but fresh out the box, I'm ready to rock from here to Bucharest. Because you see, I've studied the East while chilling in the West. Everyone from Brother J to Master Sun Tzu to the one called KRS. So you see, as my soul puppets the flesh catch wrecked from mic checks, now at 48, I still manifest to slip into a zone of my own, release the MC through my chi like Om, and tap into the universe and disperse a verse while balancing slang like yin and yang to avoid the curse of excessive abstractness. You see, I lie focused and I practice my lyrical gymnastics while studying the art of war, Master Sun Tzu type tactics. So you see, when this world gets drastic, I'll simply write another classic. Rhyme, line after line, cause see, the sign of the times is like graffiti on my mind. A picture painted perfect in the grand design. I said a picture painted perfect in the grand design. For the words rarely heard in this world of the absurd. You see, I'm blessed with finesse. The rest is merely nerve. Because on the road of life, I tend to swerve with the curves. Never worried about a thing. Because see, I roll with the superb. That's my word. Thank you. Appreciate it. Like I said, it's been a busy day. I just got finished hosting a graduation at De Anza College, which was a beautiful event. And the following day, the other day before that, I did a piece about Juneteenth, and it made me want to reflect, to think about the Emancipation Proclamation and then finding out about your freedom later. And I want to continue to let our people know, everyone, our people, all humans, you are free. Freedom is a choice, and I feel like sometimes we need to be reminded of that, just like those on Juneteenth in Texas who didn't know that they were free. Someone had to tap them and say, hey, you're free. So slavery is not just a physical thing, it can also be a psychological and a mental thing. So with this piece, I would like to share with you guys. It's called Sleepwalker. You see, I had a talk with my father the other day, and we shot the shit about this world and its progress. Sometimes it feels like it's a test, the true game of hide and seek. For I am God, but refuse to hear God when he speaks. Better yet, when words are spoken, for God is not he nor she, but life held open. But with this human mind, we often find the urge to see the inside while the inside's the outside. So for once, just let it slide. Now you might be wondering, who am I? I'm an ego, that's who. Egotistic and mystic, and like all of you, talented and gifted. For I am you, and you are me. Just as love, war, all come naturally. So fly high and dig deep. Contemplate death in your sleep. You see, it was once said that I wasn't a loud talker, but back then, I didn't want to wake the sleepwalkers. Thank you. Thank you. I consider myself a breakbeat poet, because I come from the hip hop generation. And I remember 89 PE, Public Enemy, had a song. And in the beginning, it was a quote that resonated with me as a young person. I mean, I had to ruminate on it, talk with my elders. My aunt, she was wonderful. She would let me talk about those type of things, and my father, as I mentioned. And Frederick Douglass's quote was at the beginning of the song, and it's, "Freedom is a road seldom traveled by the multitude." Freedom is a road seldom traveled by the multitude. I had to think about that and realize that sometimes you're going to feel alone. I've been doing poetry for 26 years. I started doing poetry, graduated from hip hop when my first son was born. I was a young father, 20 years old, and went out on that path. And I mean, as many of you poets may know, may have felt, it's an amazing thing to feel alone in a crowd of people, recognizing that freedom is a road seldom traveled by the multitude, means that the multitude is not going to travel that road or be willing to travel that road. And so with my poems, I express that. And many times I find myself in a crowd and I've got gods, earths, and little seeds. Homies, cronies, and a few enemies. Mommies, poppies, and aunties are watching me, mostly, closely, to the words that I breathe. So I'm like, yo, if all I gotta do is rhyme to touch mine, then I'm gonna go line for line until I shine. Because sure enough, you have to know that I'm a flow until I glow. Like the last Asiatical bro, a young Bruce Leroy, So, be it DSL or fiber optics, I rock it, lock it, exceed Mach 3 with closed optics, and bling on mental screens like hyper text, while giving birth to thought like cyber sex. Because as an MC who breathes words of poetry, I allow the inner me to defeat the enemy. I said, as an MC who breathes words of poetry, I allow the inner me to defeat the enemy. Thank you. I'm gonna do two more pieces. Is that okay? Is that okay to do two pieces? Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'll do this piece. And it's important I let young people know. As I mentioned, I speak my age. I got my white hat on. I feel like this is Frankie Beverly. I'm, and I have to let young people know about hip hop, because when I came into hip hop and hip hop came my way, I was a young man. I mean, I was not even a young man. Let me take that back. I was in the third grade, Rapper's Delight. And I got into being a B-boy and helping people understand that hip hop took us through, it gave us options. Growing up in South Central during that time period, it allowed us to have a choice, not to gang bang. We had the 80s, the crack epidemic. Let's realize the perils that we had to go through. And hip hop is an autodidactic practice, where it's self-taught. You make something out of nothing. So when I say hip hop, it means so much to me. It's not just rap. It's not just this. It's a collective. It's an energy. And this piece is entitled "When I Say Hip Hop." When I say hip hop, you see, I tend to think of Planet Rock. Because see, I used to pop lock and blow up the spots from here to Ypsilanti by myself or with my family. You see, I was the shorty of the crew, but my age couldn't ban me. Back in '83, to me, was the old days. We used to battle at Loma Alta in them hallways where some had skill, still had all A's, while young Tracy Murray was hitting J's. Swish. That was love, lay. So can you feel me? It still be that same old shit. I now grabs the mic, flip the script, and boogaloo like shrimp. Always down for the cause. I even used to pause with Run DMC, Jam Master Jay, in my Adidas. I mean, I used to break dance to Toto France, in my parachute pants. Backspin and then I posed, chose my b-boy stance. Broke it down and started ticking like Mr. Wave and had him tripping up rock to the joint point and catch him slipping. Because you see, it was never no room in a cipher for kids who just wanted to chill. It was always like, brother, you're next, so you best keep it real. And I still walk the streets with that same pizzazz, but instead of a boom box, I now rock a pen and a pad. And on my shoulders, my little lad. Because above all, I'm just a dad. Thank you. Oh, and this last piece, and I want to make this point, talking about hip hop and Adidas. I don't know if you guys know this, but Adidas is really Adi Das, as for Adolf Dassler. And he gave his spikes that he developed, him and his brother, who went on to make Puma, to Jesse Owens. So technically, Jesse Owens is the first Olympian and first person to wear, rock some exclusive spikes. But you can even find that in the Holocaust Museum. They have that same story about how they were Germans and they went against what Hitler was saying during those Olympics about the inferiority of Black people. And Adolf Dassler believed in humanity enough to say, you know what, forget that. Here's some spikes. We will be honored for you to run in our spikes. And he went on to win gold medals in that Olympics and put the other Adolf, Mr. Adolf Hitler, have him shut his mouth. All right, so want to let that be known. All right, so real quick, I don't mean to do this to you guys. Should I do a piece about having kids or just young love? Anyone's response I will take. I don't know what, young love. Okay, all right. Let's go back in time. Let's go back in time. You see, I was walking down the block when I had to suddenly stop like I was summoned by the cops. I mean, this girl, well, she reminded me of a girl whom I used to like a lot. My homeboy's older sister by the name of Lisa Lott. What I'm saying is, this girl was mad hot. Plus, she blew up the spot singing some Jill Scott. I mean, beauty mixed with hip hop just made my jaws drop. Yo, I tried not to jock, but I just could not. I mean, she was better than bad, bro. I mean, you do the math, yo. She was eclectic and natural, like Ron Dellum's afro. I mean, I tried to keep my feelings locked down on the low, but from the time she said hello, my feelings started to flow. As she spoke poetical like Maya Angelou. I mean, she looked me in the eyes and my world moved slow. I was like, yo, she's mad incredible. Then we walked and we talked for a good hour or so. Then she touched me on the hand and said, love, I gotta go. Now you might be wondering, did I get her number? Yo, I got the one to her home plus a cellular phone, though I was locked in a zone. She had a style all her own. I mean, her essence was the presence of a Nina Simone. I said her essence was the presence of a Nina Simone. So needless to say, I couldn't wait to get home and hit her up on the phone. I was like, sweetheart, I am saying, I like what you do. You've been all in my system like the flu. So even as a microphone check 1, 2, I continue to think about you and the way you call me boo. Translated through your touch. You see, there's oh so much solace in your clutch. Plus trust you enough to make a Black man blush. But I'm not Bahamadia, but my dear, I confess. You're the reason in summer seasons we act wild on the West. It's your style, your finesse, and of course that dress that puts flesh to the test. Yes, yes. Plus I like the way you rock hip hop in your guests, like Bonita Applebaum from A Tribe Called Quest. So lay your head upon my chest, lay your stress to rest, Because with your hand in my hand, we can watch the stars and make plans. I'm saying together we'll stand, woman and man. So if your life has been bleak, then I'm here to make it more better. We can slide down the coast in my busted up Jetta, walk down the beach and drink some amaretto as I keep your body warm like a cashmere sweater. Yes, it's a full moon and this young Cancer might just sweat ya. But no, I'm gonna keep it on the low like my flow and continue to take it slow. Because I got much respect for you, girl. This, yeah, I know. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, McTate.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I've asked Ray to say some closing remarks, but first I would like to thank all of you for joining us tonight. Please keep supporting artists of color who are the change makers and shapers of a new world by purchasing their works and by donating to their projects. I'd like to end with another quote from the great Harriet Tubman. If you want a taste of freedom, keep going. And now, please welcome back poet, publisher, producer, my wonderful co-host and friend, Raymond Tyler.
Okay, I'm trying. There you go. All right. Let's give it up for all of the poets that performed this evening. And really, seriously, let's petition the universe for a safe and rapid end to this virus, because I would love nothing more than to hop on a plane and go snatch up Angelique and her family, and then hop on another train, on another plane, and go out to California and do this at the world stage again, which is the world stage still open? I haven't been there in a while. Is it still, anybody know? Nobody's heard of the world stage?
And I have heard of the world stage. The last couple of years I went down there. I'm in Northern California now. It was open, so hopefully it still is.
Okay, because, you know, like everybody else, you know, they just trying to get by too. So,
right. That's where I got my start. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. So yeah, let's petition for a quick end so that we can be together. But you know, some people are of a more spiritual mind than me, so they feel that we are sequestered and confined to looking at each other in these little boxes because we have some lessons yet to learn. So let's try and learn those lessons and then get off of punishment, because I'm ready to go. I'm going to one more time invite you to join me Sunday at 8 p.m. for Our Voice over on my Facebook Live and Zoom. Please take my email address and let me know that you want to read. And then also, if you have some poetry that you'd like to submit for the Arts and Music Think Tank, please let me know. I am looking for poems and art with regards to the struggle, Gone with the Wind, Aunt Jemima, Miss Butterworth, or, you know, all those lovely images of Black people. You know, I guess you could throw Jimmy Walker from Good Times in there too, you know, or the cast of Amos and Andy, whatever. But we just want to look at some images of Black people, and it doesn't necessarily have to be harsh. You know, I've been telling people, you know, Uncle Ben's and Aunt Jemima and even Jimmy Walker served their purpose for opening doors as well. All right, but being it is Juneteenth, like I said, I didn't want to do something super heavy, and so I'm going to end with a short, what I hope is a positive poem called Song Elected. Here you go. It is a new song. It is a song that is heard now in South Africa. It is not the song that you sing, chained to circumstances, chained to race, chained to another man. It is a song sung by children who have no word whatsoever for the word chain in their vocabulary. You can say that freedom is the melody, or you are free to say that liberation is the tune, or you are free to be free of labels altogether. It's that kind of song. It is a song that you sing when you were free. It is a song that you sing when you were free not to sing at all. In Alabama, on the bridges where people march for freedom, it is a song that you sing in Los Angeles when brown people burn the city to the ground in protest. Suspects dying of head wounds in police custody. It is a song that young boys sing on his way to, that a young boy sings on his way to school in the neighborhood where the natives have said no to drug dealers today, and they meant it. It's sometime between 11:05 and midnight, between Philly and Newark. A girl hears the subway train. She writes her name on the moon. And freedom tonight sound like a song. That's it. Thank you very much. I had a good time being with you this evening. And I hope Eileen invites me to come and co-host again.
Yay.
You're muted.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. This was
Thanks,
wonderful.
everybody.
Thank you. Sorry I couldn't type comments.
What
but
appreciated.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome.
so
Awesome.
much.
Happy Juneteenth and good night, everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. Happy Juneteenth.
Thank you all. Love you.
Oh, to you too.
Aki, da, da.
Peace and blessings.